the concern for me is that it's not just Donald Trump. You're talking about a sizable part of the American polity that believes that the United States should actually be less involved internationally, right? Especially as far as its military is actually concerned. From the very start, the assumption was that things are not going to change, right? That the Marcos administration would be able to deal with whomever might win the American presidential elections. And so the assumption was that yes, it's Donald Trump, but the expectations were the same in terms of the nature of the relationship between the Philippines and the United States. One of the things that's actually happening, that one of the things that's happening recently is that Pete Hegseth, the American Defense Secretary, is actually visiting the Philippines. And the interesting thing that observers are noticing is that he's coming to the Philippines ahead of Japan. So for us, that seems to indicate just how important the Philippines might be to American security calculations. My suspicion is that uh, there's not that much expectation as far as the Philippines is concerned. Economically speaking, we're not Japan or South Korea. In terms of the presence of American forces in the Philippines, there's not a lot here. Um, but at the same time, if we're talking about American power projection, they don't have any forces that are actually based in Southeast Asia. So the Philippines, the only natural point at which they can actually uh, position their forces so that they are located in a way that they could actually support American interests in the South China Sea. More and more of the exercises that are actually taking place between the Philippines and the United States are maritime based, right? It's taking place in the South China Sea. It's taking place in near maritime domains that are actually disputed. So I think to that extent, there is a clear convergence as far as the intentions of the United States in terms of checking China's encroachments into the to that maritime domain, and of course the desire on the part of the Philippines to be able to project power to match Chinese presence in the South China Sea. The quick answer to the question of will, is the Philippines actually interested in increasing defense spending is I think yes, we are. The question is how much more can we actually put into defense spending? We're getting to the point where the Philippines believes that it's much better for us to purchase American equipment rather than diversifying our sources. From our perspective, the increase might be significant, but from the perspective of the United States, no, it's not that much. Probably not basis, because that invites local politics into the policy making process. But you're going to find um, gradual increases in the deployment of American forces, but it's going to be on a rotational basis. But I guess you can expect that per rotation, numbers might actually increase, quality might actually increase. Even if we're talking about small numbers, company size forces, for instance, no, a squadron of fighters here and there, we're still talking about at any one point in time a fairly sizable number of American forces being in the Philippines. Actually, the trend started even before Trump 2.0, right? Even when Biden was actually the president. The notion was that we were too dependent on the United States. So the problem for us was, what if the United States doesn't share our perception of what the nature of the China threat to the Philippines? So we thought that it would be better for us to actually diversify our relationship, especially with partners in the region. That's why there's an increase in the cooperation with Japan, with Australia, with South Korea. But the diversification is also some sort of security guarantee. The problem for us is Donald Trump has his own way of looking at the world. So he may have hawks in his cabinet, but that doesn't prevent him. I don't think that it's going to prevent him from actually taking personal initiatives in terms of doing a deal with Xi Jinping. So that's one of the concerns for us, this regardless of those hawks in his cabinet, right? And so I think it's just due diligence on our part to strengthen our relationships outside of the security alliance with the United States. One of the things that has been consistent about the United States before Donald Trump came up was the strategic perspective has been constant across administrations, right? But now you're not really too sure, precisely because Trump seems to show a preference for being more isolationist, reducing American commitments overseas. Um, but it's not just Donald Trump. The problem for me is the extent to which those perspectives are actually shared by a fairly significant number of Americans. As far as the U.S. commitment to the Philippines is concerned, I think at right now it's vital, right? We don't have the capability right now to actually do things on our own. And even if we talk about uh, diversifying security commitments and relationships, we know that the alliance with the United States can't be replaced by any other, even any other set of relationships, right? Right now, the approach has been to increase engagements, right? Military and naval engagements between the Philippines and the United States. Thus, we have more and more exercises taking place on the maritime domain rather than in the terrestrial areas where it usually takes place. Most of those exercises are taking place outside of Philippine territorial waters, so which means that these are waters that we might have sovereign rights over, but not definitely not sovereignty. Um, so it's more a signal to China, right, of the closeness of the relationship between the Philippines and the United States. The consistency of that kind of approach really depends more on the Philippines increasing its own capabilities, that rather than American presence actually increasing over time. A European support arrangement would probably be more in the realm of uh, political support rather than operational ones. Because the question that comes out is, um, really, what is it that Europe is going to commit? Because if we're talking about trying to push back against China, then that means we need presence, right? Um, the ability to actually face up to China in the areas that they're actually encroaching on. Um, Even the United States has not been able to maintain that kind of constant presence in the South China Sea ever since they lost the bases that they had in the Philippines. If you're not going to have that kind of constancy in terms of presence, then I don't think that that a European presence would actually be all that effective in terms of shaping the nature of relations in the Indo-Pacific.